Namaste. Welcome to Yoga for Unity and Well-Being. Today's lecture is being delivered by Mr. Subodh Tiwari. Subodh Tiwari ji is a unique person in the world of yoga. His enthusiasm, his passion matches few other people. He was born in a very spiritual atmosphere in Kaivalyadham at Lonavla. This yogic atmosphere affected him from the very young age, as he learned and took his diksha, his spiritual initiation, from Swami Digambarji, the director and spiritual head of Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute. He began yoga practice under the guidance of his own father, Shri OP Tiwari ji. His work has been phenomenal, especially in the world of education. At Kaivalyadham, Mr. Subodh Tiwari, today the CEO, shares not only his time and his passion, but leads several students, institutions, organizations, schools into the world of yoga. He will be sharing his experience and his knowledge on yoga with us today. Thank you for watching. If there are any questions, please let us know. You could always send them to us through our email, yogaforunity@heartfulness.org. Thank you and have a lovely lecture.
Namaste to all. We will start this session with recitation of Shanti mantra. Before we go on to discuss intellectually, let's ensure that we are ekagra, we are sthita prajna. So please close your eyes gently. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very gently and slowly open your eyes. We are in this schedule of things where organizations of yoga have come together, and we are celebrating the 100 days towards the International Day of Yoga. And as part of that series, we have these various lectures, discussions as our effort to get together and become more wise, probably, not otherwise. So I get you greetings from Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute, which is located in Lonavla amidst the lovely Sahyadri ranges, an institute established 97 years ago, 1924, by Revered Swami Kuvalayananda. The core of the institution has been blending of the traditional knowledge of a yoga with the scientific understanding. So this was the pioneer institution which started the scientific research. I just wanted to give you the background so that you get the context, because I'm going to speak on Jnana Yoga, a very interesting topic, exploring the various realms of yoga. And we simply have to understand that there are many paths which reach to the ocean. And these are all paths which are complete within themselves. These are paths which are illuminated, and they have similar goal. Bhagavad Gita speaks of the Karma Yoga, it speaks of Jnana Yoga, and it speaks of Bhakti Yoga. I will divide my discussion in two parts. One is trying to understand the traditional context of Jnana Yoga. That principle always remains constant. Maybe over thousands of years, the principle will remain constant. What probably changes is in the context in which we look at it. The circumstances change, so the principle will have to be applied for our better living in the context of today. You get a reference, essentially the elaboration of this topic of Jnana Yoga you find in the Advaita Vedanta. That is where it has been elaborated. You know, if you just look at the word Jnana Yoga, it means the path of knowledge. Jnana, simply understood, is knowledge. And what does knowledge do? What is it supposed to do? It is supposed to liberate. It is supposed to clear the clouds of doubt. And therefore, Jnana Yoga has been put at the highest pedestal in the Bhagavad Gita. To clear doubts for what? For a harmonious, non-conflicting, non-dualistic living. There are four important dimensions in Vedanta, or what is called is the fourfold attitudinal outlook, four dimensions which speak of Gyani. What is essential? How do you discriminate? How do you go to that level of discrimination? Because many times we are not aware, and what appears is not what is. So this whole effort to understand it in depth, gain knowledge, is the effort of this path of Gyani. So the fourfold attitudes which are mentioned in Vedanta, first is the discrimination, ability to discriminate. The ability to correctly discriminate, which is referred to as viveka. Vivek is a sum of buddhi, consciousness, mind. So the first aspect is when you are trying to decipher, trying to know, your attitude of openness is essential. Your attitude to be analytical is essential. Your attitude to have a conversation with your mind, heart together is essential. So the first aspect is the attitude of discrimination, or what we say as viveka. Second important principle is of dispassion of fruits, or what you can refer to as vairagya. There are many interpretations of vairagya. One is, of course, not being interested at all in the fruits of what you are doing, because you have to do it with that kind of attitude. Desires, even desire for return, is a desire which will keep you on hold, which will keep you attached. So this whole attitude of not expecting but accepting, not expecting but accepting, is very important. And that is one of the strongholds of the second pillar of the attitudes for Gyani. Third, it speaks of the 6 virtues of mind, or 6 dimensions of mind, 6 characteristics of mind, which is essential, which is the third important pillar. Sama, temperance of mind. Chanchalasya chamana. Your mind has this constant nature of being fickle. So what we have to work towards, what we have to possess, what we have to make an effort is towards ensuring, or at least trying to ensure, that we develop temperance towards the mind level, which is called as sama. Second is temperance of the sense organs, or dhamma. Because we still, that is what I personally feel, there is this often an anecdote which is given that there are similarities between human beings and the animal kingdom. So ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunancha are the four similarities. Ahar, the food; bhaya, fear; sleep; nidra, maithun, sensual pleasure. These are similarities between human beings and animals. And unfortunately, most of human beings still live on what we refer to as animal instinct, right? Given a choice, this is what you prefer. What is different is the intellect, or the intellectual power which a human being has. And to harness, to develop, to manifest that intellectual prowess which we have, it is essential that at a very basic, at very ground level, we try to ensure that we have restraint on our sense organs. That is Dhamma. Because if you do not even make an effort at the basic level, there is no point in speaking of the higher level. The third aspect is withdrawal of mind from sensory objects, uparati. Because it's not only the action of withdrawing of sense organs, even at your mind level, if your thoughts go in that direction. In today's context, this is very simple. What we say today is you have the customer-centric capitalist market. You have so many options, so many options. Many a times your desires are not yours. You are sitting in the morning having a good cup of tea with no desires except enjoying that beautiful sunrise. And suddenly you see a beautiful advertisement on television of something which encourages you to immediately get your laptop and go to the Amazon account and order that stuff. So the initialization of the thought of desire takes in the mind. And the philosophy says this is a very important aspect of the mind. That not only that thought, the sensory zone needs to be controlled. Tikisa, that is forbearance or patience. And today I speak to a lot of students in the universities. And I say that one of the factors which have actually gone missing is this message, this quality of patience. Everything is becoming instant. Earlier, you wrote a letter and you would expect a reply in probably 15 days. You would curse the postal department because it was delayed to 20 days. But that was the span of patience. Then you had telegrams for emergency. The expectation was less. Then you had email. The expectations were instant. Oh, I've written you an email in the morning and I haven't yet got a reply. And now you have this instant messaging on WhatsApp or whatever it is. And you are always glued. Oh, I have sent a message and the blue tick hasn't come, and you haven't yet seen the message. That's the level of patience in which we are. A research at IIT Mumbai indicated the span of attention of a student today has reduced from 45 minutes 10 years ago to 2.5 minutes. So every 2.5 minutes there has to be something different if you want to ensure that the attention of the student has been maintained. It broadly relates to the quality of your mind for patience. So that is one dimension which we need to ensure that we are able to develop. Shraddha. Shraddha is faith. Many a times, science tends to dislodge this quality. But I think faith is that inner strength which really drives the human being. I am often, I remember the story of this young boy in a village who was amongst all the adults who were praying during the time when there was a drought in the village. And they did a big yajna so that Lord Indra would be impressed, and there comes the rains in the village. So they did it for 3 days, and everyone went towards their field in expectation. And this young boy went home. He says to his father, I'll come back, give me 5 minutes. And he went back and he got his umbrella with him. Because he had faith. What we have done will result in what we want for well-being. And that faith, he says, I need an umbrella because it's going to rain. So in our lives, that faith, element of faith is very important. And finally, samadhan, contentment, satisfaction. We always desire, see, this element of satisfaction, samadhan, essentially relates to your ability of concentration of your mind. Because you have to be at this moment, be in a state of complete concentration, satisfaction at that point of time. And this is one of the dimensions which is required for ensuring that the clouds of confusion go away and the light of Gyana comes forward. So this is the 6 qualities of mind, which is one of the pillars, the third pillar, which Vedanta speaks. And fourth is mumuksutva. This is, drive for longing, intense yearning for moksha. Now, moksha is not only an esoteric word. Moksha, essentially, I would say liberation, and we should construe this term today in its widest of sense. Not only in a very strict philosophical term that, we want to live this whole world and go and moksha prapti hogi. No, you will have to be in a state of exuberance, you have to be in a state of happiness, you have to be state of complete harmony. And you have to have this longing for it. Chalta hai attitude which we have in life doesn't give you enough confidence to even seek happiness. So this longing needs to be there. That should be the fuel for driving your curiosity, driving you to be asking the questions which will liberate you, both at your mind and intellect level. So these are 4 pillars which we should understand in the context of the Jnana Marga or path of knowledge. And then they say that there are 3 practices. How do you achieve this? Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. So how do you achieve this? It's a very simple methodology. It says Shravana, Manana and practice, which is called Nidhyasana. Shravana, Manana and meditation, simply put. These are 3 methodology for going in this path of Jnana Yoga. Shravan, God has given us ears, but today's world, I think except for listening to music, we use more of our vocabulary skills than the patience to listen. And this Shravan was in dimension of learning from your master, from the guru. Because Gyana kahan se milega? This whole concept of acquisition of knowledge, of getting the knowledge, comes from the Guru Shishya Parampara or the Gurukul Parampara. So one of the most important elements is the concept of acquisition of knowledge to listening. And that is perhaps the reason why for thousands of centuries, the Indian civilization has retained the essence of Veda, Upanishad, Puranas, such important source of knowledge. So an individual should be open, a student should be open to listening, which will encourage the second method of going ahead, which is Manana. Now, Manan is very important. That is the point of not only thinking, but that is also a point of individual interpretation and understanding and swadhyay. In this context, I also relate the niyamas which Maharishi Patanjali has laid down, where he says, Sauch Santosh Tapas Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan. And in today's context, because I said initially we will try to relate it to today's context. Now, the concept of Manan is intellectually understanding what knowledge has come to you, interpretation of that knowledge which has come to you. लेकिन ये हमको समझना बहुत जरूरी है, because the amount of information which is available today in the world is humongous. So one has to ensure that the first aspect of Shravana comes from a real teacher. And probably the Google Baba as a guru only plays a minor role and not the majority of it. And therefore, when you come to the aspect of Manana, your interpretation, your understanding also includes the aspect of discussion, self-discussion, peer discussion. But you see, information will need to be understood for it to be making sense to you. This is one of the ways, because if you have not experienced it, you need information to be understood. So you have an information that when there is sunlight, the sunflower will face the sun. This is the information. Then you go to a step ahead and see the whole science behind it. And then you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge. Okay, sun rays come in, the process of photosynthesis takes place. And that's the reason sunflowers will face sun. It has greater amount of activities going on. Fair, this is good knowledge. So you have cleared the path of ignorance and you said, well, this is. But here is the last part which is very important and which I think for all of us, whether we are sadhaks, whether we are not, whether we are already on the path or whether we are going ahead on the path, it is important. That the most supreme knowledge or jnana comes when the knowledge is experienced by the experiencer. Very simple. If you are able to go there and see the sunflower yourself, you have got the jnana that sunflower will face the sun when the sun rises or at whatever time of the day it is. So manana, at three levels, the information, the knowledge and the wisdom, the pradnya, what we call. And in times where information is abundance, that is today's time, we have to concentrate more on the aspect of experiential knowledge. And all of us have to make an effort in that direction. And that is where we look at the practices of Hatha Yoga also. We look at Patanjali, because that is where the doing part comes. Because Gyana, although is the most supreme aspect of understanding life, there are individuals, there are people who would know, who would need to prepare themselves for that. And therefore, there is this whole aspect of doing Hatha Yoga practices, right from very simple yama niyam to asanas to pranayam, leading to further practices, which is the third dimension. The third dimension, which is the method, is the meditation, or referred to here as nidhyasana. Very simple. So practice is what gets you into the experiential zone. And that is what drives you towards pradnya, or wisdom. So these shravana, manana and practice are three ways in which you walk on this path of Jnana Marg. So this is this whole view, or the traditional view of Advaita Vedanta, and Jnana Marg is always also reflected in the Shaivism, where probably the difference is that in aspect of Shaivism, there is no need only to be an ascetic. You can be in this world, continue to do your karmas, and still you can seek the Jnana Marg. The Vaishnavas have included the bhakti element into Gyana, and they say that Gyana is essentially also to go towards finalization of the bhakti marg. So it's related. So this is the kind of understanding of it. But friends, I say that, like I said earlier, that principles are constant, but we have to change our outlook looking at to the present circumstances, the lives which we live today. You can adhere to the traditional principles, but that traditional principles should not become an orthodox view. So therefore, you have to be open. Today, I feel that we are sitting across, you probably are looking at this discussion on a virtual medium, and therefore, the virtual platforms have become a means for more Gyana. And we need to accept it in the best possible way. The discretion would be that what do we choose to do, how do we choose? We look at the positive side of what has happened in the world today. And the positive side is that you are able to listen to or interact with best of people in the world sitting at the comforts of your home today, which was never ever possible earlier. So you have been able to evolve another dimension in your life, and that is also Gyana. Realization and acceptance of this new reality is also Gyana. So like I said in the beginning, there are many streams and many rivers to go to the same ocean, and that ocean is of enabling ourselves to be completely in harmony. An effort to realize the truth. This whole effort is to ask the question to ourselves, why am I here? What is my purpose? And how do I get clarity? So you get clarity through understanding. You get clarity through experience of the understanding, which is wisdom. And once you have this clarity in life, a lot of things become much easier, and you are in a position of complete harmony, sthita prajnata, at all level of your existence. So whether it be Hatha Yoga, whether it is Karma Yoga, whether it is Bhakti Yoga, or for that matter referred to as one of the most supreme methodologies called Gyani Yoga, our effort is essentially to become a good human being. And my dear friends, what is most important is, it would be much better if each one of us can lead by example rather than only preach in theory. So I extend a warm invitation to all of you to come to Kaivalyadhama Lonavla, and I encourage you to walk the path and not only talk the path. Thank you so much. Namaste.